Hey, this is Larry Gillstrom. You're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast with Eric and Jeff.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Larry Gillstrom of Kick-Axe.
Yes, Kick-Axe is in the studio right now, recording new material for a new album. At the time, how many songs have they recorded?
I think in the interview we talked about 4 songs, so they probably have more than that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So
they're also working on, they got a deal for doing music for a video game based on Transformers.
Yes. And so that's the big news for Kick-Axe right now. So everybody kind of look out probably in the next, year for the new album to come out, we think.
Yeah,
fair enough. All right, let's get to this interview.
All right, good night.
Good night. Larry, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Larry, this is going to be fun to talk to you tonight.
Hey, how you doing, Eric? Jeff?
Fantastic. Well, thank you for the correspondence and agreeing to do this. We're excited to have you tonight.
Glad to be here.
Oh, fantastic. So, COVID-19 has caused a pause within the music business and entertainment business. How did you keep yourself busy during the COVID-19 lockdown?
Well, I'm always busy. I'm building my castle here, so anytime I spend time doing that, either renting some heavy equipment or I'm building it in the middle of the forest, so I also spend some time practicing with my swords and crossbows to fend off the cougars and the bears. So there's lots to do.
Fantastic.
As well as I'm also a software engineer, so I have lots to do.
Oh, fantastic. Awesome. Well, let's get right into it here. Kick-Axe is in the middle of recording a new album. Can you talk more about the band's motivation to record a new album in the days of, people releasing singles and EPs instead of full-length albums?
Yeah, well, I guess we probably intend to trickle it out in just like in the good old days, back when there was singles, as single songs that will make up an album eventually. But currently we've already recorded 4 songs, and we're just in the phase of mixing them now. So we'll probably start out with these 4 songs and trickle those out, and eventually we're looking at maybe 7 songs that would make up, a very sort of short album. And those are songs we're going to add into our live performance. They're all really high energy material, because we've been playing a lot before the pandemic, and we really, really could, sense what our audience was looking for, and so we really were motivated mostly by that in what we wrote for this upcoming album.
Awesome.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about, for those that don't know the other members of your band, Kick-Axe?
Well, it's all the original members except for George, who's still a good friend of ours, who, he's just kind of put off by the music industry and doesn't really want to participate anymore. But Danny Nargang, who's been singing for us for a lot longer than any other singer, including George, almost 10 years now. And a lot of people think he's George because, he looks like George a little bit from the back anyway. So he's a great singer, great frontman. He's like a brother to us, and he's never been on a Kick-Axe album, and so we really needed to get something out with his voice on it.
Oh,
so
cool.
that he's not always signing the other albums that he isn't actually on. So it's all the same members: Vic, my brother Brian, Ray, and Danny is the sort of the new guy.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. With today's technology allowing artists to create albums without renting a proper studio, they can kind of do it in their closet or their bathroom or whatever. What's Kick-Axe methodology as far as recording new music? I know you have a studio in your home, but is the proper way of recording with today's technology still get into that proper studio and cranking it out the old-fashioned way?
If you can, that's still the best way. I think, if you can get into a great studio and lay everything down together as a band all at the same time, that's definitely going to have the most energy. But there are ways that you can craft it if you can't do that. And some people are really good at that, and some people struggle with it. So the groups or the artists that are good with, some virtual communication and doing a lot of things, and maybe getting together with 1 or 2 people, and maybe the drummer and the bass player get together and lay down the tracks based on some demo or something, and then everybody else does their tracks remotely. But I think that it's just never the same unless the whole band is together, and that's how we're recording this. We've had 2 sessions with the whole band, and they've worked out really good. In general, I think there's an energy that you just can't get any other way.
Well said.
Yeah. Are you guys starting to book some tours or shows?
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you.
Are you guys playing live yet?
We have a date booked on the Chris Jericho Rock and Raging triple whammy cruise from Miami to the Bahamas.
Oh, cool.
Which is on October 22nd, and we're still hoping to go. Right now, legally, it would be impossible with the rules in place. We could fly into the United States and get into, because we're all from Canada, we could fly into the United States to Miami, get off the plane, with the right documentation where we got vaccinated and we're tested. Here we go. We get on the cruise, have a great time, go to the Bahamas, come back, and then we can't actually get off the ship and get into the United States because that's illegal right now for non-U.S. citizens to come off of a boat. So the laws are going to be reviewed, I guess, on September 22nd, and that'll let us know whether we can go or not.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of other dates,
Yeah.
That's the only one that is kind of right in, coming up, and there's still a lot of questions about it.
Sure. Well, as you As we speak of the Chris Jericho Cruise, back in 2020, Kick-Axe did participate in the Chris Jericho Cruise right before the pandemic. Can you talk about your experience pre-pandemic on the Jericho Cruise?
Yeah, it was fantastic. We had a blast. We weren't sure, about the cruise before we went. We didn't know what kind of passengers would be on this sort of cruise. It's a mix of wrestlers and rock and roll. You have no idea when you're going, so it was just kind of, we'll just see what it is when we get there. And everything went quite smoothly, and we got on the cruise, and it was just fantastic. It was really well organized. Every single person on that boat was fantastic. There was I didn't see any, people acting up or doing anything that was offensive. So it was actually very well behaved people for the most part, considering there was, it was a wrestling crowd and a heavy rock crowd. Lots of good bands all playing, and I guess the highlight of the whole thing was that Chris Jericho's been a big fan of Kick-Axe for a long time, ever since he grew up in Winnipeg, and we played Winnipeg and brought him up on the stage when he was just a kid. And he's always, kind of remembered that and always been a fan of the band. So he really wanted us to play this cruise. And he was the captain of the ship, basically. So whenever we were going to play one of the venues, he would come on the intercom and announce it across the whole ship that he was going down there and everybody better be down there. And so every venue we played on the ship, when we played it, was just packed and went, crazy. And so we played 3 times on the cruise, and they were all just fantastic performances.
Oh, fantastic.
When we were coming back, the world had changed. It was right at that time when we came back into Canada, and all the border officers were wearing masks, and there was all kinds of new questions about Wuhan, and we're going like, what's going on? And we guess we just slipped in time.
Well, I'm right there with you.
Anyway.
We were down in Mexico during the same time, trying to get back home from Mexico when the quarantine broke out.
Yeah.
I stood at my resort wondering if I was going to make it back in the United States or not.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a close one.
It was, yeah. Well, let's move on from that. With a veteran band like Kick-Axe that has held their sound true to the test of time, how has the writing process changed for you and the rest of your bandmates as far as, I guess, maybe as you've gotten older, a little bit more mature of the writing style, or how's it worked for you and the rest of the band? Okay,
so that's a good question. It's evolved over time. For Vices, we had all of our career before that to write the songs that were on that album.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go out on tour, and we toured with Judas Priest and Whitesnake and Scorpions for a year and a half, and then tried to write the second album while we were on the road. So it's a whole new process, and the second album, has a different flavor for us because it was all written in that one period of time. And then we did actually get some time to come off the road, and that's at the point where Ray left the band to go play with Rock and Hyde and a few other acts and stay on the road, basically. And the 4 of us that were remaining wrote the albums on Rock the World while we were kind of, did have some time to reflect. And we went back to our roots and kind of came up with we redid some of the older songs, and we kind of had a whole different writing process for Rock the World, and that's why it sounds different than the first 2 albums. And then we had to take a hiatus because, I don't know if you've heard the story, but our manager at the time embezzled a bunch of money, borrowed money on behalf of the band, and everywhere where we were playing after Rock the World, there was a sheriff there to take gear or to confiscate the money from the venue. So we had to go off the road for years, actually, at that point, and could not perform as Kick-Axe until we solved all of those problems.
Wow.
So when we did eventually come out and did Kick-Axe 4, it was a little more of a low-key, somber album because that's kind of where we had come from at that point. And, we had brought Gary back, who had been in the band for a long time before the first album and before George, and did that album. It was kind of just just something we needed to get out of our system. And then Danny came along. He was playing in a band with Victor, and he came out and we started jamming. We said, this is working out pretty good. And so, like I said, that was 10 years ago, and we have been writing, and so now we're kind of back in the stage where, like the first album, Vices, where we've got 10 years with Danny that we've been writing material and coming up to do this album, and I think we've kind of all agreed on where we want to go with the new writing, and I'm participating. I'm probably the main participant with Danny, and we're just pulling in everybody else at this point, probably in the last 3 months, to really contribute their part to the writing itself.
Well, fantastic. We're excited. Jeff, you got the next one?
Yeah, you guys have one live album out there. Have you ever thought about releasing another live album?
Yeah, we'd like to, because we think we are a live band. We think that's where one of our best strengths. And there was a live recording from Nashville that it kind of got bootlegged out a little bit when we were back in the 80s, and that kind of shows what kind of band we were live. It'd be good to show that now that we're a little more mature.
Yeah.
But you'd never know it from our shows. I mean, we rock pretty hard, and we go out there and we're still a bunch of long-haired crazy maniacs, and we're not sitting on stools and we're not taking it easy. We're not going crazy.
Yeah. Kick-Axe recently signed a deal with a video game company. Can you give us some insights on this new venture for the band?
Yeah, it's really cool. I got contacted by this. It's quite a big company, and they are. They have a video game they want to make based on the Transformers movie soundtrack, and they've acquired most, or I'd say about a third anyway, of the artists that were on that original soundtrack to participate, and we're all collaborating on some trailers, for one thing, that will actually have real music and that behind it, but also on the ambient sound for the game. So it's a very interesting thing. It's something I've always been interested in, is creating that kind of mood and mode in a video game. Like this, I guess this is a sort of a because it's Transformers, it's a lot of combat and a lot of action scenarios. So writing the background music for it is quite intriguing, and I'm having a good time participating in it. I'm probably the most involved person in the band, although I am bringing some of the other members in slowly.
Oh, fantastic.
Nice.
Exciting.
Yeah, I totally remember getting that soundtrack on cassette back in when I was young, and love that soundtrack.
Yeah, it's unfortunate in the U.S. They called us a different band.
Yeah.
Called us Spectre General.
Yeah. Well,
it's a funny thing, when we were playing the cruise, the Jericho Cruise last time, and we played those two. We always play those two songs, Nothing's Going to Stand in Our Way and Hunger. And we played them on a set, and I remember coming off and one of the guys in the crew saying, "That's great, you're covering that Spectre General song." Listen,
Yeah.
I told Danny, the next show we're doing on the cruise, you tell everybody there's no such band as Spectre General.
Yeah.
When they know we play these songs, it's that this is Kick-Axe, and it wasn't our decision. They just, for some reason, they thought it was a kids movie, and the Kick-Axe was too rowdy of a name for a band. I don't know.
I know, isn't
nowadays,
that funny? When you think about it, when you think about that nowadays, it seems absurd.
Yeah.
Well, pardon my ignorance, but when you're scoring a soundtrack to a video game, are the similarities to scoring a video game soundtrack to a video game similar to scoring something that would be on television, or how does it work?
Yeah, it is a little bit, except that television isn't interactive in the way that a video game is. So in a video game, you don't know where that person playing it is going to be in that 3D dimensional world. And so it's more like you create sounds that are unique and cool, and then you have targets within the 3D universe, and those targets emanate those sounds. And so if you're in a spaceship and you're flying towards some strange planet with rings on it, that sound starts to emanate as you get closer to it. So you're more creating stems or ambient tracks that will be based on events that happen within the game.
Yeah.
So it's a little more. There's a little more complexity to it than something on television.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. I guess want to ask a little bit about your guitar of choice on your recordings that you're working on now. What kind of guitar are you playing?
I am still playing the same guitars that I've always played.
Awesome.
I do most of my guitar on my Gibson SG, which is completely customized. It's a 1961 Gibson SG, but I've done a lot of work on it, and it's my favorite guitar. We do some drop tuning on it, and it's rock solid. But I have a nice Strat and a Dean guitar, and I play those on some of the stuff where it requires a little bit of a cleaner sound.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. I kind of wanted to take this back to tour dates. Like I said, outside of the Jericho Cruise, you have started to book some dates where in Western Canada, I believe. As far as logistics go, is the band going to try to stay on the western side of the country, or how's it going to work?
Well, I think we're willing to play anywhere where we are allowed to. We love to play, and we love live music, and as long as we're doing it within the bounds of what's allowed, we go to Toronto, Montreal if there's something there to do, and when we can, go into the U.S., we intend to.
Very good, Jeff. You got one? Or are you going to take it?
Go ahead.
All right. I got one more question for you. I don't know if Jeff's got anything left, but I did want to bring this back to your castle you've been working on since 2007. You've also been upgrading your rehearsal and studio space within the confines of the castle. Your castle is located in the forests of British Columbia. Can you talk about to us a little bit more about the motivation of moving building something in some so remote location or rebuilding something and calling it your own residence there?
Yeah, I guess I could. I've been in Vancouver for a long time, and it's kind of hard to buy real estate there. Now it's even worse than when I was trying to buy. But it was just try to find somewhere where you can actually play music loud till all hours and do the kind of things that I like to do. I just couldn't do it in any of the spaces that I could find within Vancouver. So I looked at this place. It was a ferry ride 40 minutes away from the heart of Vancouver, and it was very rural with a lot of forest in it. And I went out there and I looked for quite a while before I could find the right property. And then, I found this property that was for sale in the middle of the forest, but it was still only, as soon as you came out of it, you were only 5 minutes away from a shopping center and a subdivision and that sort of thing. So you're not totally isolated, but still, it was a great opportunity. And so I built a small house there to start with, and I lived in that for about 10 years. And then I bought the property next to it, which again was a piece of forest, and that's when I built the huge castle. I'm still building it, so it's I can play. I can have music and parties. I've had massive Halloween parties here with hundreds of people. So we just have lots of fun here, and the band comes out here all the time, and we just have a blast. A great view of the ocean, and a lot of wildlife. I have to fight some of it off at some points, but 2 days ago I had to go out with my smaller crossbow and my sword and deal with a giant bear.
Oh wow!
Which, my wolf dog was going to get into a fight with him, and it can get pretty tense sometimes. There's some cougars and bears around here, and coyotes and stuff like that.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's so cool though. Here, Jeff, you got one more?
Yeah, let's just talk a little bit. So you play guitar, keyboards, and vocals. Which one came first, and how did you discover the love of music?
Wow, that's a good question. I think I started playing guitar first when I was a kid because girls thought it was cool.
Yeah,
and then but I had no real musical talent at that point. And then I took piano lessons and learned how to play keyboards, but I really wasn't, crazy about it. I played keyboards in some really early rock bands when I was 14 or 15, and I actually played keyboards on a TV show with my brother drumming, where he won some talent show.
Oh, cool.
But then I was in a band playing keyboards, and they kicked me out because I wasn't very good at the time. And so I was pissed off about that, and I went and bought a cheap guitar, and I learned how to play a bunch of guitar playing off of the Woodstock, mostly, like 10 years after, and Star Spangled Banner by Hendrix and a bunch of stuff like that. And came back, and the guy who kicked me out of the band, the guitar player, I took his place in the band at that point. I was a guitar player ever since.
Oh, so cool. Go ahead, Jeff. You got one more.
Yeah. Just talk to us a little bit about, so when you're first getting started in Canada, and you got there's some other famous bands that have come out of Canada, such as Triumph and Coney Hatch and a whole list of others we could name. But were you guys like rivals, or did you guys work together to try to conquer America?
Well, we always tried to work together. I think some bands had a little more ego than we had, so we got along with most of the bands. But sometimes there would be bands that we would be rivals with. But I think that bands like Triumph or Rush or any of those kind of bands are way beyond ego, and they were really good people. It would be. I wouldn't name anyone.
Yeah.
But because I'm friends with everybody now. As you get older, you get friends with all the bands. But there are a couple of bands that are serious brothers with us, and that's Helix and the Killer Dwarfs. I don't know if you know those bands that well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we still, to this day, tour with them and do triple bills with those guys, and we go backstage and party together as one big group. We just get along with those guys like we were all in the same band.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Well, we are out of our allotted time, but before we let you go, is there anything that we didn't plug or promote tonight that you would like to bring forth?
No, I think we covered everything there. Eric, Jeff, seems like I feel like I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about. So
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Thanks, Larry. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Yeah. You too. Bye.
Everybody Everybody pulls the plug and says their last goodbyes. Move to the sunshine, fight the grip of nights. If they ever take from you, then you plug out both.